opened his eyes to fire and smoke. The ship was broken around him. Metal screamed as it twisted. Red lights flashed everywhere. He could hear alarms crying out, but they sounded far away, like sounds in a dream. He tried to move. Pain shot through his left arm. He looked down and saw blood. His blood, red and warm, dripping onto the broken floor of the medical bay. "Anyone?" he called out. His voice was weak. "Is anyone alive?" No answer came, only the dying sounds of the ship. Had been the medic on the horizon's edge, a small exploration ship with 12 crew members. They were mapping new systems at the edge of known space when something hit them. He did not know what. One moment they were flying. The next moment they were falling. He pulled himself free from the wreckage. Every movement hurt. His medical training told him he had broken ribs, maybe internal bleeding. He needed to treat himself. But first, he needed to find the others. He searched the ship for 2 hours. He found all 11 of his. None of them were breathing. Captain Park was still in her chair, her eyes open but seeing nothing. Engineer was buried under fallen machinery. The others were scattered through the broken ship like forgotten toys. Sat down among the dead and cried. He cried until he had no more tears. Then he stood up, wiped his face, and started to work. He was alone on an alien world. He did not know where he was. The distress beacon was destroyed. No one would come looking for him. If he wanted to live, he would have to save himself. He gathered what he could from the ship: medical supplies, food packets, water filters, a small knife. He set his own broken ribs with shaking hands, biting down on leather to stop himself from screaming. Then he stepped out of the ship and into a forest that glowed with strange light. The trees were tall and silver. Their leaves shimmered like metal. The air smelled sweet, like flowers and something else he could not name. 2 moons hung in the purple sky, one large and one small, both glowing soft white. It was beautiful, it was terrifying. Survived in that forest for 3 days. He ate roots that his medical scanner said were safe. He drank water from streams that ran silver in the moonlight. He slept in hollow trees and woke to strange sounds in the darkness. On the 3rd day, they found him. He heard them before he saw them. Footsteps that made no sound, but somehow he knew they were there. Then a net fell over him from above, and he was trapped. They stepped out of the shadows. Tall beings, taller than any human. Their skin was silver like the trees, and their veins glowed soft blue under their skin. They had no hair. Their eyes were large and dark, like deep pools of water. They wore armor made of something that looked like glass but was probably much stronger. Did not fight. He was too tired, too hurt, too alone. He let them bind his hands and drag him through the forest. He watched the glowing trees pass by and wondered if he would ever see Earth again. They took him to a city. It rose from the forest like a dream made solid. Towers of crystal and light reached toward the sky. Bridges of silver connected them, and beings like his captors walked across them, looking down at the strange creature being brought through their streets. The beings whispered to each other, did not understand their words, but he understood their tone: curiosity, disgust, fear. They threw him into a dungeon. It was clean, at least. The walls glowed with soft light and the floor was smooth stone, but it was still a prison. Sat in the corner and waited to die. But death did not come. Instead, time passed. Days, maybe. He could not tell. They brought him food and water, strange things that tasted like nothing he knew but kept him alive. No one spoke to him. No one explained why he was there. He listened to the guards talk outside his cell. At first, their words were just noise. But slowly, his brain started to find patterns. He had always been good with languages. It was part of why they had made him a medic on an exploration ship. On what he thought was the 5th day, he understood his first word: dying. On the 6th day, he understood more: princess, curse, blood. On the 7th day, he understood everything. The beings were called. They had an empire that stretched across many star systems. They were old, much older than humans, and their royal family was cursed. Every third generation, a child of the royal blood would sicken and die before reaching adulthood. No medicine could save them. No healer had ever found a cure. The current victim was Princess, youngest daughter of Queen. She had been sick for 2 years. The healers said she would not survive another month. 17 healers had already been executed for failing to save her. Listen to all of this from his cell. He thought about what he knew. He thought about human blood and alien blood. He thought about the strange glow in the veins, the way their skin shimmered. He thought about iron and oxygen and proteins. He was a medic. He solved problems, and his mind, even tired and hurt and afraid, would not stop working. The curse was not magic. It could not be. Magic did not exist. The curse was a sickness, a flaw in the blood passed down through generations, and human blood was different from blood, very different. What if that difference was the answer? Stood up, he walked to the bars of his cell. He took a deep breath. Then he started shouting. The guards came. They hit him. They told him to be quiet. He shouted louder. He shouted about blood and medicine and a cure for the princess. He shouted until his voice broke and he could barely whisper. Most of the guards thought he was mad. They left him bleeding on the floor of his cell. But one person heard, one person stopped, one person listened. Her name was, and she was the royal healer. Her life would end if the princess died. She had nothing left to lose. She knelt outside his cell, her silver face uncertain, her glowing veins pulsing with fear. "Tell me," she said, "tell me everything." And did. Came to his cell every night for 3 nights. She brought a small device that translated his words into her language. She asked questions. He answered them. She wrote everything down on a tablet that glowed like her skin. Explained human blood the best he could. He told her about red cells that carried oxygen, about white cells that fought sickness, about proteins that helped the body heal. He told her that human blood was red because of iron, while blood glowed blue because of copper. Your princess is dying because her blood cannot carry what it needs, he said. The curse is not a curse. It is a mistake in her body, passed down from parent to child. Her blood is missing something. And you think your blood has what she needs? Asked. I think it might. Human blood is different enough that it could fill the gaps, but I would need to test it. I would need equipment. Was quiet for a long time. Her dark eyes studied him through the bars. If you are wrong, the queen will kill you, she said. If I do nothing, I die in this cell anyway, replied. At least let me try. Stood up, she looked at him one more time. Then she walked away into the darkness. Thought she would not come back. He thought he had said too much or too little. He lay on the cold floor and closed his eyes. The next morning, guards came to his cell. They did not hit him this time. They put chains on his wrists and led him through the palace, through halls of crystal and light, through doors that opened without being touched, through rooms filled with who stared at him like he was an animal. They brought him to a throne room. Queen sat on a throne of black stone. She was old, older than any being had ever seen. Her silver skin was pale, almost white. Her veins barely glowed at all, but her eyes were sharp and clear, full of cold intelligence. Beside her stood a tall male in armor. His hand rested on a sword at his side. His face showed nothing but hate. Stood to the side, her head bowed, her hands shaking. This is the creature, the queen said. Her voice was soft but carried through the entire room. This is the thing that claims to have a cure. I do not claim to have a cure, said. His voice did not shake. He was surprised by that. I claim to have a theory, a possibility. It might work, it might not, but it is more than you have now. The male stepped forward. You dare speak to the queen this way? You are nothing, less than nothing, a bug that crawled from a broken ship. General, the queen said quietly. The general stopped. The queen looked at for a long moment. He looked back. He did not bow, he did not look away. If he was going to die, he would die standing. "Tells me you would use your own blood," the queen said, "that you would give it to my daughter." "Yes." "Why?" The question surprised him. He thought about it. Why would he risk himself for a stranger, for an alien who was part of the empire that had thrown him in a dungeon? "Because she is dying," he said finally, "and I might be able to stop it. That is enough reason for me." The queen tilted her head. Something changed in her eyes, not warmth exactly, but interest. "If you fail, I will have you dissolved alive," she said. "Your death will take many days. You will beg for it to end." "I understand. And if you succeed?" "Had not thought about that. Then your daughter lives, that is all I want." The queen was silent. The court was silent. Even General did not speak. "Give him what he needs," the queen said at last. "You will assist him. If my daughter dies, you will both share the same fate." Baudelaire simply nodded. They took him to a medical chamber. It was more advanced than anything he had seen on Earth. Machines floated in the air. Screens showed information in languages he could not read. Tools made of light waited to be used. Worked beside him. She was scared, but she was also smart. She learned quickly. Together they began. Took his own blood first. He filled container after container, more than was safe, more than was wise. His head spun. His hands shook, but he did not stop. He ran the blood through filters, separating it into parts. He removed what might be harmful. He kept what might help. He mixed it with compounds that provided things that would help human blood work with bodies. It took 16 hours. Did not sleep. He did not eat. He worked until his vision blurred and had to hold him up. When he was done, he had a single vial of red liquid. It was not blood anymore. It was something new, something that had never existed before. "Will it work?" asked. "I do not know," admitted, "but it is her only chance." They brought the princess at midnight. 4 guards carried her on a bed of soft cloth. She was small, smaller than had expected. Her silver skin had turned gray. Her veins barely glowed, just faint flickers of dying light. Her eyes were closed. Her breathing was shallow. She looked like a candle about to go out. Felt fear then, real fear. Not fear of death, but fear of failure. This girl had done nothing wrong. She was dying because of something in her blood, something she was born with. She deserved to live. He looked at the vial in his hand. Red liquid, human and mixed together, hope in a glass container. "Hold her still," he said. Helped him find a vein in the princess's arm. It was hard. Her blood vessels were failing, but finally he found one. He connected the vial. He let the red liquid flow into her silver body. Nothing happened. Seconds passed, then minutes. The princess did not move. Her breathing did not change. Felt cold spread through his chest. He had failed. The queen would kill him, would die. The princess would die, all of it for nothing. Then princess gasped. Her eyes flew open. They were dark, like deep water, like her mother's. They looked around wildly, not understanding. Her veins began to glow. It started at her arm where the blood had entered. A soft blue light spreading slowly through her body, growing brighter, stronger. The gray faded from her skin. Silver returned, beautiful and bright. He looked at her. "Who are you?" she whispered. Her voice was weak but clear. "My name is," he said. "I am the one who saved you." Then his legs gave out and he fell to the floor. He had given too much blood. His body had nothing left. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was face, tears running down her silver cheeks, her mouth saying words he could not hear. He had done it. The princess would live. Whatever happened next, that was enough. Woke slowly like rising from deep water. His body felt heavy. His mouth was dry. His eyes did not want to open. When they finally did, he saw silk above him. A ceiling painted with stars and moons. Soft light coming from somewhere he could not see. He was not in the dungeon. He was not in the medical chamber. He was somewhere else entirely. He tried to sit up. His arms were weak, but they held him. He looked around. The room was beautiful. The walls were made of something that looked like pearl, soft white and glowing gently. The bed beneath him was larger than any bed he had ever seen, covered in cloth that felt like water against his skin. A window showed the city outside, towers of crystal reaching toward a purple sky. He was in the palace, in a room meant for someone important. The door opened. General stepped inside. His hand was on his sword as always. His face showed nothing. "You are awake," the general said. It was not a question. "How long?" asked. His voice was rough. 3 days, the healers say you nearly died. You gave too much blood." The general's eyes narrowed. A foolish thing to do. "The princess." "Lives, she asked for water this morning. She ate solid food for the first time in a year." Something flickered across his face. It might have been wonder. It was gone too fast to tell. "The queen wishes to see you. Can you walk?" Pushed himself to his feet. The room spun around him. He grabbed the bed frame and held on until the world stopped moving. "I can walk," he said. General led him through the palace. Servants stopped to stare. Guards whispered to each other, ignored them all. He focused on putting one foot in front of the other, on not falling, on reaching wherever he was supposed to go. They entered the throne room. Queen sat on her black throne just as before, but something was different now. The cold in her eyes had not disappeared, but it had softened, just a little. Stopped before her. He did not know if he should bow. He decided not to. He had saved her daughter. That had to count for something. "Of Earth," the queen said, "you have done something that none of my healers could do. You have saved my daughter's life. You have ended the curse that has haunted my family for 10,000 years." Said nothing, he waited. "Among my people, such a deed cannot be ignored," the queen continued. "You have placed a debt upon my house, a debt that must be repaid. Until it is repaid, you are bound to this throne, and I am bound to you." "I do not understand," said. "No, you would not. Humans are young. You do not know our ways." The queen leaned forward. "When someone gives a gift that cannot be measured, the receiver must give an equal gift in return. Until that happens, both are bound. Both are connected. Neither can be free of the other." The understanding came slowly, felt it settle into his bones like ice. "You cannot let me go," he said. "No, to release you without repaying the debt would bring shame upon my entire empire. My enemies would call me weak. My allies would question my honor. I would rather fight a war than bear such disgrace. So I am still a prisoner." The queen tilted her head. "You are a guest, the most honored guest my palace has ever held. You will have everything you desire: food, comfort, safety. You may walk freely through my city. You may study in my libraries. You may speak with anyone who wishes to speak with you. But I cannot leave. No, not until I find a way to repay what you have given." The queen's voice was heavy. "And I do not know if such a thing is possible. What you gave was beyond price. My daughter's life, my family's future. How does one repay such a gift?" Stood in silence. He had expected death. He had expected torture. He had not expected this. A golden cage was still a cage, but it was nothing like the dungeon. "I understand," he said finally. "I will stay." "You have no choice, but I am glad you accept it with grace." The queen made a small gesture. "General will show you to your new quarters, will attend to your health, and my daughter," she paused, "my daughter wishes to thank you herself." Bowed then, it felt right. "Thank you, your majesty." "Do not thank me, human. I have given you nothing but a beautiful prison. Perhaps one day I will find a gift worthy of what you gave. Until then, we are both trapped by your kindness." They gave him rooms in the palace. 3 rooms, all larger than his entire apartment on Earth. Servants brought him food and clothes, came to check his health every day. She smiled at him now, something she had never done before. "You are famous," she told him on the fifth day. "Everyone in the Empire knows your name, the human who saved the princess. They sing songs about you in the streets." "I just wanted to help," said. "That is what makes it so remarkable. You expected nothing. You wanted nothing. You just helped," shook her head. "We do not understand such things. Among the every gift has a price. Every kindness must be repaid, but you gave without thinking of return. It confuses people." "It confuses me too, sometimes," admitted. Princess came to see him that evening. She was stronger now. Her skin glowed silver and bright. Her veins pulsed with soft blue light. She looked healthy, alive, young. She also looked nervous. "May I come in?" she asked from the doorway. "Of course." She entered slowly, like she was approaching a wild animal. She sat on a chair across from him, her hands folded in her lap, her dark eyes studying his face. "You are the human who saved me," she said. "Yes." "You gave me your blood, part of yourself." "Yes." "Why?" It was the same question her mother had asked, gave the same answer. "Because you were dying, because I might have been able to stop it. That was enough reason." Was quiet for a moment. "My mother says I must repay you, that until I do I am bound to you forever." "I do not want repayment," said. "I just want you to live." "But that is not how things work, not among my people." "Then maybe your people need to learn a different way." His eyes widened. Then slowly she smiled. It was a small smile, uncertain and shy, but it was real. "You are strange," she said. "I do not understand you, but I want to." She stood up. "Will you teach me about your world, about humans, about why you do the things you do?" Thought about it, he had nothing else to do. He was trapped here maybe forever. He might as well make it mean something. "Yes," he said, "I will teach you." Smile grew. "Then we begin tomorrow. I will bring books. You will tell me stories." She left and sat alone in his beautiful prison. The moons rose outside his window. The city glowed with silver light. He was bound to a throne, trapped by honor and debt, but he had saved a life. He had made a friend, and maybe, just maybe, that was worth the price. He closed his eyes and let himself hope. Months passed in the Crystal City, learned the language properly. He learned their history, their customs, their way of seeing the universe. He walked through gardens where flowers sang and trees changed color with the moons. He ate food that tasted like music and drank water that sparkled with light. He taught Princess about Earth. He told her about oceans and mountains, about rain and snow, about cities full of humans, millions of them living and working and dreaming together. He sang her songs from his childhood, simple songs about love and loss and hope. She listened with wide eyes, hungry for every word. They became friends. It surprised them both. "On my world," said one evening, "friendship is a contract. We agree to be friends. We write it down. We sign it with blood." "On my world," replied, "friendship just happens. You spend time with someone, you laugh together, you trust them. One day you realize they are your friend. No contract, no blood, just time and care." Thought about this. "I prefer your way," she decided. Not everyone in the palace was happy about the human. Most of the servants accepted him. The healers respected him, had become something close to a friend. But there were those who looked at him with cold eyes, who whispered about him in dark corners. General was the loudest voice against him. The general had served the throne for 200 years. He had fought in wars that could not imagine. He had watched empires rise and fall, and he did not trust humans. "They are destroyers," said to the queen one day. Heard this through an open window, standing in the garden below. "They have existed for only a moment, and already they have spread across 100 worlds. They fight each other constantly. They consume everything they touch. This one may seem gentle, but his people are wolves." "This one saved my daughter," the queen replied. "For a purpose we do not yet understand. He is a spy, a snake. He waits for the right moment to strike. And if you are wrong, I am never wrong about enemies. Said nothing about this. He continued his days as before. He taught. He learned from. He walked through the city and smiled at those who stared. But's words stayed with him, heavy and cold. The challenge came on a feast day. The palace was full of light and music. From across the empire had come to celebrate the princess's recovery. Sat at a table near the royal family, an honor that made people whisper. Rose from his seat, the room fell silent. A year ago this creature crawled from a broken ship, the general said. His voice carried through the hall. We gave him shelter, we gave him comfort, we gave him a place in our palace. And what do we know of him? Nothing. We know only what he has told us, and words are easy to speak. Felt the eyes of the court on him. He said nothing. I say we test him, continued. Let him prove his worth in the old way. Let him face me in the circle of honor, first blood. If he is what he claims, he will fight. If he is a coward, he will refuse. Either way, we will know the truth. The hall was silent. The queen sat very still on her throne, her face unreadable. Understood what was happening, wanted to humiliate him, to expose him as weak, to show the court that humans were nothing to fear. He had two choices: refuse and prove himself a coward, accept and almost certainly lose. He stood up. I accept. The court murmured, smiled. It was not a kind smile. They cleared a space in the center of the hall. A circle was drawn on the floor with light. The rules were explained. First blood ended the duel. No killing. No weapons beyond the standard blade. A servant handed a sword. It was beautiful, perfectly balanced, sharper than anything he had held before. He had some training with blades from his military days, but nothing serious. Nothing that could match 200 years of experience. Took his position across the circle. He held his sword loosely, easily. He was not worried. Why would he be? The queen raised her hand. The hall held its breath. Her hand fell. The duel began. Moved like water. One moment he was across the circle. The next moment his blade was at its throat. Barely managed to block, stumbling backward, nearly falling. The general pressed forward, strike after strike faster than could follow. He blocked what he could. He dodged what he could not block. He felt the blade cut his arm, his shoulder, his cheek. Not deep. Not first blood according to the rules, but close. Always close. He was losing. Everyone knew it. He knew it. But he did not stop. Drove him to the edge of the circle. One more step and he would be out, the duel forfeited. The general raised his blade for a final strike. Dropped to his knees. Not in surrender, in attack. He swept his blade low at its legs. It was a desperate move, a stupid move, the kind of move that only worked in stories. Jumped back. His blade came down. It caught across the chest, cutting through his shirt, drawing a line of red blood. First blood. The duel was over. Fell onto his back. He stared at the ceiling, breathing hard. Blood ran down his skin, hot and wet. He had lost. Of course he had lost. But as he lay there, defeated and bleeding, he started to laugh. The sound filled the silent hall. Stared down at him, confused. This is the third time I have bled in your palace, said. He was still laughing. He could not stop. Once to save your princess. Once in your dungeons. Now here. He looked up at the general. My blood keeps ending up on floors. At some point you should just consider me part of the furniture. The hall was silent. His face showed nothing. Then Queen laughed. It was a strange sound, like ice cracking in spring, but it was real. She was actually laughing. General, she said, her voice carrying through the hall, you have proven the human is no warrior. He has proven he is no coward. I call this matter closed. Looked at his queen. Then he looked back at something shifted in his face. Not warmth exactly, but something close to respect. He put away his sword. He offered a hand. It was the first time Ed touched him without violence. Took the hand, pulled him to his feet. You fight poorly, the general said. I know. But you fight, that is something. They stood there hand in hand, blood dripping from wounds onto the marble floor. The court watched. The queen smiled her cold smile. Perhaps, said slowly, I was wrong about you. Perhaps you are not a wolf. Perhaps you are something else entirely. What am I then? The general thought about it. I do not know yet, but I will be watching to find out. He released hand and walked away. The court began to talk again, voices rising like waves, rushed forward to tend to his wounds, pushed through the crowd, her face pale with worry. But just stood there, bleeding and smiling, feeling something he had not felt in a long time. He felt like he belonged. A year after crashed on Prime, the sky filled with ships. They came from beyond the system, jumping through space in flashes of light. 3 ships, large and armed, bearing the flag of Earth's Exploration Command. They had been searching for the lost horizon's edge. They had traced biosignature across half a sector. Now they hung in orbit above the planet, demanding answers. The palace went to war footing within hours. Soldiers filled the streets. Weapons charged and pointed at the sky. The people looked up at the human ships and saw death. Queen called an emergency council. Generals and advisors filled the throne room, shouting over each other. War plans spread across tables of light. Some wanted to attack first. Some wanted to surrender the human and hope for peace. All of them were afraid. Was brought to the council. He stood before the queen, still wearing the clothes of a noble, still carrying the scars from his duel with. Your people have come for you, the queen said. Her voice was calm, but her hands were tight on the arms of her throne. They demand your return. If I refuse, they will attack. Yes, said, they will. Can they win? Against your empire? No, but they will hurt you. They will destroy ships and kill soldiers. And when your empire strikes back, more humans will come, and more, and more. We are stubborn that way. We do not forget our people. The council murmured. General stepped forward. We should return him, said. Let them have their creature, let this end. If I release him, the debt remains unpaid, the queen replied. Our honor will be broken. Then what do we do? Silence fell over the council. Everyone looked at the queen. The queen looked at. What would you have me do? She asked. You know your people. You know what they will accept. Tell me how to save both of our kinds from a war neither of us wants. Thought about the question. He thought about the princess who had become his friend, about who called him colleague, about who nodded to him in the corridors, about the queen who had trapped him with honor and treated him with something close to kindness. He thought about what he wanted. Let me go to them, he said. Not as a returned prisoner, not as a released captive. Let me go as an ambassador. The council stirred. The queen raised her hand for silence. Explain. Your debt is to repay what I gave, said. I gave you the princess's life. I cannot be repaid with gold or rooms or titles. But what if the payment was something greater? What if you gave me a purpose? What purpose? Let me be the bridge between our peoples. Let me speak for the humans, and for humans to the. Let me turn this moment of war into the beginning of peace. The queen was silent. Her ancient eyes studied him. You would stay, she said slowly, not as my prisoner but as my voice to humanity. Someone has to make sure we do not destroy each other. It might as well be me, smiled slightly. I have already bled for both sides. I might as well keep going. General stepped forward. You would give up your freedom, your chance to go home. This is my home now, said. I have friends here, a purpose, a place where I matter. He looked at, standing at the edge of the council. She was watching him with wide, worried eyes. I have reasons to stay. The queen rose from her throne. The council fell silent. Of Earth, she said, you came to us as a survivor, you stayed as a prisoner. You have been a healer, a curiosity, a friend. She stepped down from her throne, something she had never done before. Now you offer yourself as a bridge between worlds. You offer your future for the peace of two peoples who have never met." She stood before him, ancient and powerful and strange, but also somehow kind. "The debt is paid," she declared, "not because you have balanced it, but because you have made it meaningless. What use is debt between family? What use is obligation between friends?" She reached out and touched his face. Her fingers were cool against his skin. She said, "You came to us as an alien, you leave as kin." Bowed not because he had to, because he wanted to. "Thank you, Your Majesty." "Do not thank me. You have earned everything you have received and more." She turned to the council. "Send word to the human ships. We will negotiate. Our ambassador will speak for us." The message went out. The human fleet stood down, and when the first negotiations began between two species that had almost destroyed each other, stood in the middle. He translated words. He explained customs. He soothed fears and calmed tempers. He told the humans about their honor and their age and their strange kindness. He told about humans, about their stubbornness and their loyalty and their endless hope. It took weeks. It took months. There were arguments and misunderstandings and moments when everything almost fell apart. But in the end, they signed a treaty. Humans and two peoples who had never met, bound together by words and promises and the blood of one man who had refused to let either side die. Princess was there when it happened. She stood beside as the leaders signed their names. "You did it," she whispered. "You actually did it." "We did it," corrected, "all of us together." She smiled. It was not a small smile anymore. It was bright and full and real. "What will you do now?" she asked. Looked out the window. The human ships still hung in orbit, but they were not enemies anymore. They were partners. The first of many if things went well. "I will keep working," he said. "Keep building, keep trying to make things better." He looked at her. "Will you help me?" "Always," said. "We are bound, remember, by blood and debt and friendship." "No more debt," said. "Just friendship, that is enough for me." 10 years later, the human alliance was the strongest force in the sector. Ambassador was its heart. He had grown older, his hair touched with gray, his face lined with years. But his eyes were still kind, still hopeful, still searching for ways to help. Queen still ruled. She was ancient now, even by standards, but she called little brother in private moments. It never stopped making him smile. Princess led the Alliance's medical corps. She had her adoptive brother's stubbornness and her mother's strength. She saved lives across 100 worlds, just as he had saved hers. And in the vaults of Prime, preserved in crystal, was a small vial. Inside it was human blood, the first gift between two peoples. The plaque beneath it read, "Blood freely given is never truly spent." Stood before it sometimes when the work was hard and the days were long. He would look at that vial and remember. A crashed ship, a dying girl, a choice to help even when there was nothing to gain. He had come to this world with nothing. He had given everything he had, and in return he had received more than he could ever have imagined. A home, a family, a purpose. The chain had become a bridge. The prisoner had become a brother. And the blood that he had given so freely had grown into something that would last forever.